So I've talked about the end of John, which is the last gospel, and like how Ìzeus comes back and like he sees his kids and he's going to war. Like he's in a war. He's like saying like they're gonna figure out like that like they shouldn't have messed with my name. And then like the next book is Acts, and in Acts, Herod dies, and King Herod's who killed him, and Herod was the actual king of the Jews. So like in John, when like this person calls Ìzeus the king of the Jews, it's like you should be in Herod's job. But we also found out that Herod is related to Apollo or Paulon or Paulos, but he was related to Saul back then. So Saul is like his brother. Like, but I think that a lot of people were like half brothers back then because like everyone had like 5 wives, including like Ìzeus, who had multiple wives. So I guess they say that like the temple was destroyed during the siege of Jerusalem. They burn it down, the stone temple. Yeah, they burn it down, the temple that's still there. Thing is that we've done some reading and we found out that like the high priest was in charge of the Christian church in like after 300 AD. So like the idea of the temple being destroyed and like them not having the Ark of the Covenant when they're bragging about having the Ark of the Covenant, like it's kind of hard to believe. So like was it the Roman Empire that attacked Jerusalem? Like, or was it a clone of me? Because my understanding is that like they bring me back a lot. Like I'm the person they will clone more than anyone else, and it's because like clone army type stuff. Like we're gonna have a bunch of garrisons. You're in every garrison. Like we need you on the ground. Like you don't care if you get killed, and you're the best fighter. So Caligula is known as like the most evil emperor, I think, to everyone. And I didn't know that it was probably because of the Christian stuff, when really like the way I view Caligula as evil is like he'd like be hanging out at dinner with like his friends and their wives and be like, I'm gonna have sex with your wife. And like that's why I think he's evil, because like that's how you get murdered. And he did die. And I can't help but wonder if Ìzeus was involved with that. And everyone knew Ìzeus was involved with that because he came back, he sees his kids, and everyone trusts his kids. No, I know, Yona, trust me, that guy's not lying. His dad used to come back. Like he says the story's true. That kid is virtuous. His dad came back, and his dad was there, like talking to him about like going to kill Caligula. His dad was in Rome going to kill Caligula, and like they killed Herod. They killed the king of Judea, who was like a part of the Roman Empire. Like I'm just saying, like, and then Saul, like his brother gets killed, and then he has that conversion to become Paul, and then Paul keeps getting tortured by who? Ananias. What happens to Ananias in the end? Well, nothing, right? We've all read Acts. Ananias like gets overruled because Ananias is a Sadducee, and the Pharisees are and Paul's a Pharisee. So here we see in 66, Ananus, Ben Ananus, it takes over as like temporary ruler of the Judean provincial government, and that's the high priest. But like, was the high priest Christian at that point? I feel like it was, like that early. Well, yeah, Ìzeus came back. See, that's confusing to me because it's saying like King Agrippa II helped the Vespasian invade Galilee in 67. But my understanding is that Agrippa II is Peter, or like maybe like Peter's descendant, because like they renamed like Peter Herod. So this whole piece of history is phrased as like the Jews against the Romans, when it was like the Christians against the Jews. And then they're saying like the Romans won against the Jews, but like really it was like Jewish people. But clearly Ìzeus was coming in from people from who knows where I was from, like probably Egypt. Egypt was like the most powerful country in the world. Well, I mean, before at one point. So maybe I was mixed up because maybe Herod II isn't the same as Herod Antipas, the tetrarch of Galilee and Perea, of planning a rebellion against Roman rule. Because like, did that happen? Well, we saw it in the book of Acts. Like, Peter got put in jail and so did On. So this says that Jews were angered over the construction of clay altars, but like, what do we know happened? David had already built like a bunch of like monuments, like memorials for like war and stuff. And like they had psalms written on them. So like they had statues all over the place. They weren't anti-idolatry back then, I promise. Like, but like what they're saying is no, we were anti-idolatry. Trust me, like we were anti-idolatry that much because they were tearing down all the statues of David and stuff because like they tore him down during a war. Like Ìzeus was saying he was David basically. So here it's saying Herod Antipas is who like killed Ìzeus, and he was the king of Galilee when Ìzeus was the king of Galilee, like he was the Lord of Galilee. And Herod Antipas, like based on my opinion, because like he got arrested by Herod Agrippa, that would clearly be Peter, because like I mean I'm pretty sure we can't trust Matthew no matter what. So it sounds like Caligula was related to Agrippa, and like that means that like Paul was related to Caligula. And what did we find out about Paul? Like he's like he was the richest person ever. Like that's how Origen talks about him. Like he was as rich as Abraham. Like no one's as rich as Abraham and Apollon, because Apollon was richer than Ìzeus, and Ìzeus was the lord of Judah. So a lot of what we learn about this is from Josephus, and like if there's anything I've learned is that like the scribes want to write the history. They know their histories of certain things. Like I'm just going to write the history for you guys, and like the way this guy words it is like it was a war of the Romans against the Jews. But like what happens to the guy that whipped Paul? Here it says the aristocratic oligarchy consisting of the families of the high priest and their affiliates who wielded significant political, social, and economic influence and amassed great wealth suffered a total collapse. So like they lost all power during this period. It says 1/10 of the Jewish population in Judea was captured or killed. I guess they were sold into slaves. But is that the Christian population? Like it says 1/3 of the Jewish population was gone like during the revolt, like dead. But like that was because of the Christians. Here it says a huge loss of life occurred, including that of the former high priest, Ananias. So that asshole that like tells him to beat up Paul, like he's like right in front of him, he's like, hit Paul for me. Like that is who dies. So Caligula was on Agrippa's side, like they were relatives. Like apparently like the people in charge of Rome were like that connected to the ruling Jewish class. Like more than that, he was a king. Like he inherited like that much wealth from me. Like when I talk about the Jewish people being powerful, like I talk about like them being my family from like 5,000 years ago, and like I accumulated that much wealth over like 2,000 years, and then they're my family. So here we find out that Herod Antipas confessed and Caligula exiled him, which is very confusing to everyone because where did Caligula exile him to? It sounds like he ended up in Rome, like as weird as it sounds, because like we think Herod Antipas is Peter. But when his name is Antipas, like what does that mean? Like for me, like pause is peace, like in busca de paz, like in search of pause, like peace, in that's Spanish. But against peace, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear from the text that like Ìzeus comes back and he needs to like, he's probably gonna go die. Like I think that like they'll send like that many of me because like that many of me will die, like because it's just better. Like I'm a more productive soldier. Like I'm a person that will kill enough of your people. Trust me. Like when I hear the story of like Troy and like I know that Achilles is who did it, and the only reason I know I'm Achilles is because I've snapped my Achilles tendon before. Because my understanding is Achilles who you hate from the story or something, like that's what Wikipedia says. So like how could Zeus be Achilles? But Achilles is who wins. I'm a very productive soldier. Like I think that that's one of the reasons they like me, because they know I'm good at protecting us.